This is a meeting of quite exceptional nature in the framework of the European Council, which took place this morning. This is a meeting at which many of us felt a very strong sense of emotion because we all remember the European Council, the extraordinary European Council which took place on the 24th of February last year, just a few hours after the outbreak of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And indeed, he spoke virtually. President Zelenskyy spoke to the 27 heads of state and government. We all remember the very striking words that you used and speaking about the destiny of your country and of your own destiny. This meeting on 24th of February last year represented very probably a turning point in European history. We immediately understood on the part of all Europeans and of the 27 leaders that we were facing a new chapter in European history and European security. And this meant that very quickly we had to realize how essential unity is. It made us understand that we had to show strong, firm support for the Ukrainian people, which through you, embodied by you, decided to resist, to fight, and to fight for the future of your people, of your country, of your children, and to resist in a very powerful way to defend the values of the European project, freedom, democracy, human dignity for every human individual. At this press conference, I'm not going to repeat all the measures that have already been put in place. I will focus on three main points, which I think should fully mobilize us in the coming days and weeks. And then I will say a brief conclusion after these 3 points. We understand that over the coming weeks and months, these will be, no doubt, of decisive importance. And because these coming weeks are so important, we must remain open-eyed, lucid. We must continue to provide maximum level of support. And I can see three main areas where we need to do that. In the military field, we have spoken about this on many occasions over recent weeks. Your meeting with President von der Leyen, and during the European Council, you were able to make your points in very clear and straightforward terms to the European leaders. And of course, you will have had and will have some informal contacts as well, talking about your military needs, what you need to help you defend and protect the integrity of Ukraine, artillery, munitions, defense systems, and this, you have told us exactly what you need and what you need now. That's the first point. Secondly, you come here with a message concerning the peace formula. And I would just say that in this respect, the European Union wants to be at your side and to bring to the international community a clear determination to respect international law, the UN Charter, and the sovereignty of Ukraine. We will spare no efforts day after day to carry on this diplomatic and political battle in all international fora. We want to see how it is possible to organize a summit for peace. We must not, we're fully aware that we cannot allow ourselves to back down, to be intimidated. We must be inspired by the courage of the Ukrainian people. And a third point I wanted to mention, I spoke about this a few days ago in Kyiv. You have chosen, you have followed the choice of the Ukrainian people, a free and sovereign choice, which was already expressed on the Maidan, to turn towards freedom and democracy and European destiny. You have asked for candidacy status in the European Union. And I think we can be very proud of the fact that the European leaders decided so quickly to grant candidate status to Ukraine for EU membership. Since then, despite the ongoing war, you have bravely and with great determination implemented reforms. We are very impressed with all the progress that has been made in just a few months. We know that after the summer there will be a report from the European Commission. My responsibility will be to ensure that the Council lives up to its responsibilities by the end of this year. On the basis of the Commission report, we can decide on the follow-up to this integration process for Ukraine in the European Union. These are the three main messages: military support, political, diplomatic support, and support for Ukraine's European destiny. And just by way of conclusion, I would just say that the European Union will maintain its determination to put pressure on the Kremlin. Sanctions are still on the table. The 10th sanctions package is being discussed. We want to take a consistent and firm approach. We want to ensure that those who are guilty of crimes can be held to account for those crimes, including for the crime of aggression. And that is why we have the initiatives to collect evidence and proof so that we can enable international justice to remove the impunity. In this respect, we want to ensure that we can also take the appropriate measures with regard to the frozen assets. It is only fair that these frozen Russian assets be used to rebuild Ukraine and to provide fair compensation to Ukraine. President Zelenskyy, in addressing your European counterparts, you referred to the founding fathers of the European Union, these key personalities in the wake of the Second World War who dreamt up this European project, this new promising future for Europeans who had been traumatized by the two tragic world wars which had devastated the European continent. All of us here, through our families, our parents, our grandparents who lived through the horrors of the Second World War, they saw the European project, peace and prosperity, as the key to a better future. These are the key to our European project. And our generation, your generation now have come together around this common goal, this common destiny. We need to take the right decisions to ensure that peace and prosperity can remain the key values of the European project. And that these can hold sway across all of Europe in the coming decades. We are absolutely determined, and I would just say in conclusion, speaking here in Brussels, I would like to repeat what I said a few weeks ago in addressing the Ukrainian Parliament and the Ukrainian people. The European Union is Ukraine. Ukraine is the European Union. The European Union is our common home, and we will mobilize all our efforts to keep this promise. Slava Ukraini.
Vive l'Europe. Merci à vous.
Long live Europe.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Zelenskyy, you have the floor.
Шановний пане президенте Європейської Ради, Шарлі, шановна
Dear
пані
Mr. President
президент
of the European Council, dear Ursula,
шановні
dear
присутні, шановні
ladies and
журналісти.
gentlemen, dear journalists.
Сьогодні
Meine Damen und
351
Herren.
день цієї
Today
війни,
is
і сьогодні в Брюсселі
361st
на
day.
честь українського народу, на честь нашої держави, українських воїнів, лунав наш
We
національний
have had the national
і слова
anthem
підтримки для України.
and the support
Для
of
України, яка
Ukraine
бореться,
today.
яка
Ukraine is
зможе
fighting.
захистити свою
Ukraine
незалежність,
can protect
нашу спільну
its
європейську
independence
свободу.
and the
Пане
European
президенте,
freedom.
Шарлі, я дякую
Dear
тобі
Charles,
за
dear
запрошення
President, thank you very
взяти
much
участь
for
в засіданні
inviting me.
Європейської Ради.
Thank you very
І це
much for allowing me to
абсолютно,
take
я вважаю,
part in
справедливо,
the
що Україна
meetings, and
традиційно
I
бере
feel it's
участь в
only
засіданнях
fair
лідерів
that Ukraine
Європейського
takes
Союзу.
part in the
Українська мова
meetings
звучить
of the
у
European
дискусіях
leaders. The
президентів,
Ukrainian language
урядів
is
Європейського
part of the
Союзу.
European discussion.
Українська мова звучить в
Ukrainian
Європарламенті,
language
і це
is
вже
part of the European
забезпечено. І
Parliament,
ми
and
зробимо це
that
частиною
is a part,
звичної
indeed,
європейської
of the
практики, коли
European
Україна
practice
буде членом
when Ukraine
Європейського Союзу.
will be a part of the European Union. Dear Ursula, dear President, I would like to thank you for the joint efforts of the Ukrainian government and the European Commission in Kiev, in our state where we discussed not just our issues of defense, but our future, our movement and our integration, our real life, the defense and protection of our everyday life and our values. I'm absolutely sure that not just Ukrainian, but the European values as well. I have just participated in the meeting of the European Council. Yes, it was the closed meeting, but I want you to understand and to get the feeling of what we discussed. And this sense was defined by one of the leaders of the European Union, who said that the long-term peace in Europe will only happen when Ukraine will gain the victory and will become the member of the European Union. This is the unity we've managed to build. The unity, which means that the European Union will be with us until the victory of Ukraine, and Ukraine will become the part of the European Union. Our discussions in Brussels have been very concrete, very precise. We were talking about security, we were talking about this saving lives and stability. We were talking about the return of justice. And these values are not just Ukrainian values, they're European values as well. We have discussed this, and Ukraine used to export the electricity to the European Union. We were making your social life, your welfare dependent on that, but Russia has occupied and switched from the network our nuclear power station. That is the violation of your interests. Values, yes, but also the interests. And we can talk about every single element of the Russian aggression in the same way. Yes, they are trying to destroy our economy and our cities, but they're doing it in such a way that it should affect all the Europeans. We are very grateful to you for our air defense systems, but also I would like to stress this is in the interests of all of us, not just Ukrainians, but all the Europeans, that Russia should not make new missiles, that Russia should not attack our cities. So we have to move to another step and introduce the sanctions against the drone, the UAV and the missile industry of Russia, and also the part of their IT sector which gives provisions and support to the Russian terror. Then we can reduce the destruction and we can remove the source of our defense, of our dangerous attacks. I have been very inspired by your statements that Europe will be with us until our victory. I've heard it from a number of the European leaders, and I'm very grateful to them for this. I've heard about the readiness to give us the necessary weapons and support, including the aircrafts. And I will have a number of bilaterals now, and we are going to raise the issue of the fighter jets and other aircraft. So we are working and continue to work in Brussels. I want to thank all of you I want to thank the European citizens, the citizens of the European Union, for all your support, for the way you support our people, for giving us the refuge and the shelter for the Ukrainian citizens who were trying to protect their children from the bombs. Millions of our citizens are now supported in Europe. And I hope that your citizens could see that the European values are real. Thank you very much for this. Thank you for everything, friends. That's the only way I can address you, friends. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Dear Volodymyr, thank you. Thank you for coming to the heart of the European Union. Thank you for the strong message we heard from you. Your fight is a fight for independence, for democracy, for free Europe. And I did not only hear your strong and powerful message in the European Parliament, but also here in the European Council. And I heard your urgency. We all heard the urgency of your call to support Ukraine now. You spoke in a very moving manner about and praising the European way of life. And you added that Ukrainians want to come home to this European way of life. And indeed today, you see we are one family, we have one vision, and family members help each other. You can count on us. We will continue to provide our full support, now to sustain your people through this atrocious war and for the future. Ukrainians are giving their lives for a free and independent Ukraine. They are fighting for the respect of our common values. And we know that we can never match the sacrifices Ukrainians are making every single day. But we can stand up for you. One figure that puts it into perspective is 67 billion. 67 billion of support we have mobilized in the last 12 months, from budget support to fast recovery, from energy supply to military capabilities, from humanitarian aid to refugee support, and we must do more. This, I think, is also the urgency we took away today as a message from you, and we must do more. We are supporting Ukraine to win this war, and we are making sure that Ukraine wins the peace that will come. It must be a just peace. We fully back your peace formula, dear Volodymyr. The European Union is working with its partners to support Ukraine across the 10 points of your peace formula, from economic security on nuclear safety, food security, energy, among others. And we will work hard to ensure the broadest possible global support for it. A just peace also means accountability. And this brings me to my second point. Russia must pay for the destruction caused and for the blood spilled. In the next days, we will propose the 10th package of sanctions. First, we will impose sanctions on a number of political and military leaders. But also, dear Volodymyr, we listened very carefully to your messages when we visited you last week in Kiev. We will target Putin's propagandists because their lies are poisoning the public space in Russia and abroad. You were insisting on that. We hear you. We will follow up, and we are going after them. Secondly, the package will include additional exports ban worth more than 10 billion euros. This will further starve Russia's military machine and continue to shake the foundation of its economy. And the international community is also working hard to ensure that justice is served. 3 steps are important. The first one is that we collect and store evidence of the crimes being committed. We have already started. The second step is to have prosecutors work together. For that, we are setting up the center in The Hague. And the next step is to set up a tribunal. Here, the discussions are ongoing about the exact structure. But I assure you, Volodymyr, we have the political will to hold the perpetrator accountable, including for the crime of aggression. And there is the political will, so we must find a way. Finally, on our common future, Ukraine's youth is fighting for their sovereign country. Too many are paying the ultimate price. but their dreams live on. Dreams of a new Ukraine, not only free, democratic and European, but also fair and green and prosperous. We are already laying the groundwork. We have built the reconstruction platform, which has gone live now. Our partners start seconding experts to the Secretariat, which we are hosting in Brussels and in Kiev. The response to our call is amazing. Our cities are joining too. 36 European cities from Vilnius to Venice will work with 10 cities in Ukraine like Kharkiv and Kiev. This is the living proof of the enormous support you have all over the European Union. And as you said, every single person counts. You said it very powerfully in the European Parliament. It's us, the politicians, yes, but every single person in the European Union counts to contribute to support Ukraine. Ukraine is advancing on its European path in an impressive manner. Accession is a merits-based process, and your track record shows that you are able to deliver fast and of high quality, even as you fight an aggressor, even as you are at war. I hear Ukrainian people so often speak about their hopes. They want their children to grow up in the European Union. And this hope gives them the strength to cope with this horrible war. Dear Volodymyr, between now and this bright future, there may be a hard road to tread, but rest assured that we will be with you along every step of the way. Let's turn Ukrainians' dreams into reality, into the European way of life. And since the beginning of my mandate, I have concluded every single speech with the words, "Long live Europe." Since 1 year, for a good purpose, we add to the term "Long live Europe" always Slava Ukraine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll take a few questions first, but from the Ukrainian media. Zoriana, you had a question from Radio Free Europe.
Good afternoon, everyone. So obviously, my first question is to Ukrainian President. So if you don't mind, colleagues, I will switch into Ukrainian language. Volodymyr Alexandrovich,
dear Volodymyr, we have seen the result of your visit to Britain. After this, the British Prime Minister has announced the training for Ukrainian pilots, so that by the time Ukraine could potentially get the fighter jet, they would be trained and prepared. That was quite a concrete announcement. And when you met in Paris with the German Chancellor and French President, there were no concrete promises. Does it mean that they were not announced publicly or they didn't happen? So perhaps you could share those decisions with us. And also, you've had the meeting with 27 leaders of the European Union and also the representatives of the European institutions. We understand that your priority was indeed to find a breakthrough solution for the Ukraine to get the fighter jet and also long-range missiles. Has Ukraine got any closer after this meeting? That was the question to the Ukrainian President.
President of European Commission, I would like to address you. So you mentioned this topic. Apart from the weapon, another crucial topic raised here is the future membership of Ukraine in the European Union. So as far as we know, the first official assessment of the implementation of 7 criteria is about to come in the late 2023, and Ukraine counts on getting the decision on opening the accession talks the same year, I mean 2023. So how could you estimate the odds and the possibilities to open the accession talks, especially in 2023? And is it possible that in addition to these 7 so-called conditions would be added new ones? Thank you.
Can I answer? long question. I will answer in Ukrainian if it's possible.
I think that our visit to London has achieved results, and we have moved towards the dissolutions concerning the long-range missiles and the training of our pilots. Yes, indeed, that is an important road to getting the fighter jets what we need. Also, there are certain agreements which are not public but are positive. And when these items will happen in our state will know this, but I don't want to prepare the Russian Federation, which constantly threats us with the new aggression. Concerning Paris and the meeting with the President Macron and Chancellor Scholz, we had, I would say, a very powerful meeting, a very important meeting, and I see this meeting as a positive one. And talking about concrete decisions, indeed, I would not want to announce many things publicly, but all I can say is that we were working towards the enhancement of our capabilities. When we talk about the offensive, we are talking about the armored equipment, and we are talking about the tanks. And I have received positive impression from our meeting. When we talk about the meeting with the 27 leaders, well, first of all, we have to understand that Britain, France, and 27 countries of the EU and the European Union and the leadership, and indeed the society of the European Union, all deserve a huge gratitude from us, from our state. So one of the reasons why I'm here is I have to thank for all the figures, for all the words which were mentioned, and the concrete steps which were mentioned today. These are the concrete measures to support our society and to support our displaced citizens and our economy as well. That all supported our resilience. Resilience of the state means the army, and the resilient army means the victory. And that is, of course, the only result we all see, and thanks God for that. Talking about the results of the meeting, when we talk about the meetings we indeed took place, we still have a number of bilaterals. We are working, and it's a work in order, in process. Thank you.
Two very quick points. First point, I'm absolutely confident that this meeting is an occasion for many EU leaders to make very clear that they are ready to provide more military support, and we all understand the urgency of this need for more military support, point one. And point two, the EU enlargement process. I am confident because we observed the recent weeks and months how Ukraine very quickly demonstrated the ability to implement reforms that are extremely important and to make progress. It means that we know what will happen in the following weeks. Ukraine will continue to implement the reforms that are needed, point one. The Commission will make a report, and the Council will have to decide what are the next steps by the end of the year.
The Commission is indeed working very closely with the Ukrainian government on the progress in the candidate status and the 7 steps. And of course, these 7 steps and not more, referring to your question, because we have agreed on these ones. It is impressive to see how highly professional, with enormous quality, Ukraine is advancing on doing the necessary reforms and working on these 7 steps. For example, the adoption of the anti-corruption strategy, the resumption of the High Judicial Council, the new media law. All these are steps absolutely in the right direction. More needs to be done, but important is to understand there is no rigid timeline. It is a merits-based process, so it's up to the candidate country how far and how fast they reach the goals that are being set. Indeed, there will be an oral report now in spring, but the big goal is to show the progress and to show a track record in the progress and the reforms to the report, the written report, enlargement report in fall. That's our common goal. The Commission is, of course, supporting Ukraine as much as possible and advising as much as possible in these questions. I think it's very helpful that we have now the Secretariat in Brussels and in Kyiv, because from the very beginning it was clear that when we move forward now in fast recovery and repair, later on in reconstruction, that investments should be coupled with reforms that pave the path towards the European Union.
Elisaveta, from Ukraine Info. Yes, please.
Hello, colleagues, first, but I will switch to Ukraine as well. Dear
Volodymyr, I would like to ask you a question about our armed forces of Ukraine. You know that our volunteers, our armed forces, we cooperate quite closely with the European Council and also with the European Union. But unfortunately, not everybody in the European Union sometimes feels, that the country is at war. There are some entertainment facilities working, and they keep forgetting about the hell of Bakhmut and other places. And I wanted to ask you, when do you feel the whole country and the society will actually start feeling that the country is at war together with the armed forces? Thank you very much for this question. I think we shouldn't mix everything together. It's very difficult to wage war for such a long time. And we are very, very grateful to armed forces, and not just those who are on the front line, but of course we are very grateful to them because they're giving their lives, but also those who are waging war, working not just on the front line, they work, they have to pay taxes, people are supporting the army. So indeed, people are people, humans are humans, and there are people who are tired to work in this regime. There, of course, there are psychological issues, there are people who already need rehabilitation, there are those who lost somebody close to them, relatives, there are those who want to forget that they are grieving. People are humans, they're different, and I think that's a component of our lives. We cannot treat everybody the same way. We can't say you all absolutely must. People have to be conscious of that. They have to understand it themselves. There, I agree with you totally. People have to understand that, unfortunately, the war continues. Unfortunately, it depends from our unity, and our unity will give the resilience to our soldiers. There are people who want to go on holiday or rest. There are occasions, there are people, there are challenges, but we are not talking about millions of people who don't want to support. And of course, it's not just our case. It happened during various wars. Therefore, the information support is key, and the president has to show with his own example how you should behave during the war. The journalists have to show if somebody decides perhaps to go on holiday rather than support a war effort. Yes, this is our common goal, common work. That's all I wanted to say, and it's the question, the issue of dignity and the issue of other challenges. But please don't forget, we are all humans. And by the way, those humans, we are all humans who managed to stop Russian aggression. And we are now at the most important stage. We have stopped it, but now we have to win. And we can't do it just by words saying, oh, we're in the martial law. And we can't concentrate everybody's attention through the words. We have to work. We have to give the information. We have to knock at every door. And we have to do it together. I feel that it's not just the issue of the military or the information policy or indeed the government. I think these are the key steps. But we are the democratic state, so we have to understand, we have to develop, and we are defending our democracy. We can't force people to war. We are not Russia. That is the paradox. We are fighting for the European values. We want to be the member of the European Union. So even when we fight, we have to fight with dignity and with those values. Thank you.
From Answer, yeah, there in the back.
Hello, Mr. President. First of all, l'ască prossimo da Staliezi Europe. I have two questions, if I may, on Ukraine's integration process in the European Union. First, according to President von der Leyen here, you are making good progress. But you accept that Ukraine will likely have to wait years before it can be a full member of the EU, and that within Europe there are different levels of support toward Ukraine. And secondly, what kind of EU would you like to see and contribute to? A ever closer union where Brussels takes most decisions with no vetoes, or a union where nations are firmly in the lead? Thank you so much.
Was it all to me? Or all these questions were for me?
No, really, I'm asking because I had translation, so I didn't hear. Everything is for me. I'm very welcome in Brussels, I think. Якщо ми говоримо про Європейський Союз, I really appreciate for everything that you've done, and Ursula said that I think I heard, maybe I wanted to hear, maybe we want too much, but anyway, so I think I heard that we'll after the recommendation, the result about our recommendations, and we can start opening the dialogue about our future or in EU, yes, and my question is to everybody. To everybody, yes, we need unity in this case. So and that's why, of course, we need this year. We want very much to motivate us and to motivate, by the way, to motivate our army, because they attacked by Russians and by all this aggression. To motivate, we are fighting for, and we need these four. And one of these very important four, of course, sovereignty, of course, Ukraine, children, homes, and of course, membership. And that's why, of course, we need it this year. And this year, Charles, when I say this year, I mean this year. I mean there's 2023.
I feel very well the responsibility to get unanimity in the European Council, but we'll do our best.
I have one more question, because we have to start at some point with the European Council again. Yes, Effie from Euronews.
Thank you, President, and welcome to Brussels. So I would like to insist to the practical part of all these meetings. So you mentioned fighter jets, but I would like to ask you, how satisfied are you of the level of delivery of weapons and arms by the EU so far? And what would be your expectations from today's meeting? And I mean, is it just a high symbolism visit, or you expect to get some very concrete promises for fighter jets or other stuff by your EU counterparts? And also for the presidents, do you see a common ground for providing this kind of warplanes to Ukraine being reached anytime soon? And is it still a decision to be taken at an EU level? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I haven't got the right. I simply haven't got the right to come back home without the results. that depends on the partners and from me personally. And for me, it's very important that all the talks we conduct can lead to the result, should lead to the result. And perhaps that's slightly impertinent, but that's not cynical. That's pragmatic point of view. And I have to believe there are no emotions. The emotions are left on the 24th of February last year. We are just pragmatic. For us to survive, we need the weapons. We need these weapons. And that's what I'm talking about. For us to survive, we need these financial funds. And I'm not trying to hide behind the words when I say we are defending our common values. I'm absolutely sure we are doing that. And I hope that you understand that when you help Ukraine, you're helping yourselves. And you have to make it in such a way that later you shouldn't understand it in a practical way, so that later you don't have to defend yourselves. So please, it's important to give this assistance earlier. This is my approach. And let's see, of course, there are positive signals concerning the respective weapons. We've got positive signals that we hear each other. And I really want these signals to move to concrete sounds, to concrete voice, the voice that is not afraid that Russia will hear this voice. And I'm absolutely sure that the countries of the European Union during this year moved from doubts, but have significantly moved to a more grown-up approach, more powerful approach. We need your powerful voice. We need your powerful, concrete support.
Un mot très rapidement. Dans les heures qui ont suivi, cette agression généralisée du 23 et du 24 février, dans les heures qui ont suivi, l'Union européenne a pris une décision historique pour l'Union européenne. C'est la délivrance pour la première fois dans l'histoire de l'Union d'armes à l'Ukraine. Et je n'oublierai pas nos appels téléphoniques le vendredi, le samedi matin qui ont suivi ce Conseil européen et cette attaque par la Russie, et le moment où en quelques heures, les 27 chefs d'État et de gouvernement ont donné leur mandat au ministre de la Défense pour délivrer des armes. Et nous savons que dans les heures qui ont suivi, les premières armes arrivaient pour soutenir les forces armées ukrainiennes. Et donc, lorsqu'il y a quelque temps, nous avons discuté avec Volodymyr Zelenskyy, quand je lui ai fait la proposition de venir ici à Bruxelles et rencontrer en personne les dirigeants européens, ce n'était pas simplement pour offrir la possibilité d'une tribune médiatique supplémentaire, c'est bien pour des décisions. Nous mesurons bien que ce qui fait la différence, ce ne sont pas les mots sont importants bien entendu, mais ce n'est pas suffisant. Ce qui fait la différence, ce sont les capacités militaires pour faire face, pour repousser cette agression, et c'est bien de cela dont il s'agit, et je suis très confiant, je le répète encore une fois, que plus doit être fait et que plus sera fait en termes de soutien, et certainement en termes de soutien militaire.
So, Charles has described that the delivery of military capability is not a decision taken at EU level of the institutions, but a sovereign decision of the member states. Of course, there's a strong coordination, and you have seen the living proof of delivery of military capabilities. But everything else is done and coordinated at the European level. So the 67 billion for the past are a symbol for that. As I said, we need to do more, and we will do more. Be it the economy, be it the integration of the Ukrainian economy in the single market, be it energy, be it the solidarity lanes, be it the support for the Ukrainians that are fleeing Putin's bombs and are in the European Union. This is all topics that are being pushed forwards, including the sanctions on the European level that we are working on. But the delivery of military capabilities is a sovereign decision of the member states.
Thank you to the three presidents. President Zelenskyy, to you and your team, safe travels back to
so much. We have to.